Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gut Shot Podcast. I'm your host, Shamsul, Sam. Back with me, my buddy, my friend,
Hi.
Syed Akbar. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Very well. Fine. Rainy today.
Ready today. Okay. Today, we're going to talk freedom of speech. We're going to talk about things that we cannot talk in Malaysia, apparently. Right? It just boggles my mind. Why do our political leaders and politicians think that stopping us from talking or writing or even sometimes even thinking this sort of thing, whatever we want, is problematic, so to speak, and how we as a people should actually make an effort to ensure that we change this. So, Syed, let's start off. Kick the ball rolling.
I agree with you 100%. So maybe I'll start today's discussion with my closing line.
Sure.
Controlling speech, basically controlling thought, people's thinking process, controlling speech, will cost the politicians votes. This is a losing game. Going down this path of over legislation and over regulation of writing, speaking, talking, basically thinking, will not win you elections anymore. You will get kicked out faster because times have changed. This is 21st century. Younger generations have grown up who don't understand all these archaic, old types of controlling this, controlling that. I'm talking about freedom of speech and expression through laws. Through laws that are often vague. Wide-ranging, broad scope of laws, which sound almost the way they are implemented. It is not precise, not objective. It looks almost arbitrary. So what exactly is, law is supposed to deliver justice. So what is the measure of justice which they can deliver is highly debatable when they have vague laws which cannot be quantified. Why are they vague? Why? Because you cannot quantify freedom of speech.
Bro,
you cannot measure. You cannot measure freedom of speech. So in science, rule number one is things have to be measurable. Only then you know what you have achieved. So if you can't measure something and then you make laws to regulate it and to control it, you're doing something that is not measurable. So that always creates doubt and unhappiness. And to the politicians, doubt and unhappiness costs you votes. You lose elections. That's my opening.
But I mean, people, whether you legislate or you don't legislate, especially in today's society, right, where unless you're gonna ban this little particular instrument, right, you're not gonna be able to stop people from talking anymore.
Nope.
Yep. So, but let's just pin a bit. Okay, in our country, in Malaysia, what are the laws we're talking about? Let's just quickly mention that.
What are the big brother
laws that...
Big brother laws in Malaysia?
Yeah.
Well, you have the big daddy of all. It's the Sedition Act.
Okay.
Sedition Act is big daddy number one. Following close behind is a portion, not all. A portion of this new means it's the MCMC Act, the Multimedia Commission, whatever Act, Multimedia something Act.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain
which regulates what you can put on your on social media.
A certain Section 233 is the one that has been flagged a lot, and a bit of something else called a Section 211. These are the two. We used to have the Internal Security Act, but that was more of a security act that has been abolished.
Mm-hmm.
I have said before I didn't fully agree with abolishing the ISA purely from a security point of view. The other laws other than the Sedition Act, we still have this Printing Presses Act, which governs the newspapers and printed stuff. Also very archaic because now everything is online, but it is still there. you have one more is for Muslims. You have this. It's there is an act where they regulate the printing publication of religious texts, religious works, religious writing, be it translations of Quran, for example, or any book that touches on religion. It can be governed by this act. When I say govern means it can be criminalized. You write something that is disagreeable to the laws of the land as defined by those acts, you can be held liable and you can be punished under law. So
does that include the blasphemy as well?
No, blasphemy is part of faith. Your daily practice, like a person who doesn't attend Friday prayers 3 weeks in a row, those are offences under in some states, offences under the Sharia criminal enactments. But I'm talking about writing and publication of Islamic text, Islamic material.
Right.
They have an act that governs that. So these are the acts that we have in the country that govern basically freedom of thought, freedom of expression. With this, they basically can control what you say and what you think. I like to use the word freedom of thought because whatever you say, whatever you write comes from your thought.
Yeah.
You're basically controlling the people's brain from functioning. That's what is happening. So if I may just say a bit more.
Yeah, sure.
We have had these kind of acts throughout history in a lot of countries. But as time goes on, as societies mature and become more advanced, then they learn to do away with this kind of regulations. For example, Sedition Act. Sedition Act has been around for a long time. The British are famous for their Sedition Act. But they abolished it. They abolished it in stages years ago. I think even in the beginning of the last century, they were already watering it down in Britain and Australia. But finally, the final act where they totally abolished it happened quite recently, around 2009, 2010, around there. Britain, Australia, New Zealand, the Commonwealth countries, the main Commonwealth countries, the white populated countries, they abolished the Sedition Act. So you find that, I think in India, there's no Sedition Act for a long time. As societies mature, and people become more aware, more educated, the society itself, therefore there's no need for this kind of over-regulation, over-control of thought and freedom of speech, especially acts like Sedition Act, because there's a history behind all this kind of laws, and there's always some history. We'll talk about the Sedition Act in a while. But last time we were saying that, I don't know if they're still saying it or not, we wanted to be an advanced country, by 2020. What's the date today?
I don't know.
So
I'm almost gonna say Wawasan 2020 my ass. So go ahead.
So one of the measures of success that we would have arrived at as an advanced society is that not only the highways and the skyscrapers and all those tangible things we see around us, the development, the economic advancement, but also the social advancement, the social indexes in the country, one of which is freedom of speech, freedom of thought. Surely, if you want to be an advanced country, people should be mature enough to be able to say what they want to say and think about what they want to think. Why do you need someone else sitting above them, most likely a politician, who are usually less qualified, and they decide to regulate what people can think? I use the word think. They're basically telling you what you can think about, because before you speak, you got to think about it. They are basically telling us how we can use our minds. It's mind control. Big Brother. That's what it is. Are we an advanced society? Are we a modern society if we still need rules and regulations where somebody else, a politician most likely, tells us what to think, how to think, what you can think about?
We are not. If you were to ask me that question, we are not. Because why? You can have the hardware, you can have a gleaming infrastructure, right? But with the software that you have, you cannot translate that software into creativity. And one way that you actually bring down creativity is stopping people to think from thinking.
It surely does.
Yeah. And not just that. In my opinion, if you ask me,
well, it may not be their intention to stop creativity, but when you douse the whole place with your carbon dioxide foam, you kill anything and everything is snuffed out. Not only you put out the fire, but the insects, the birds, the bees, everything gets snuffed out altogether.
But you know,
Carpet bombing lah.
I mean,
Carpet bombing.
this conversation actually to me have been going on between us for a long time since I know you. I mean, and we are still talking because why? I think we don't have our people revolting against this what do you call this pressure, all this power that is put upon their thought process, their way of thinking, the way they speak. And when you don't allow people to speak and think, you don't allow things to change. If you ask me, that's the whole point. They don't want you to change, meaning that they don't want you to change them.
Okay, somebody benefits, right? What you say, I agree completely, but somebody has to benefit from this. So who or why? I mean, obviously, they want to control what you can think about and what you can say, because that benefits them. If controlling speech and thinking and writing in the country, freedom of thought, if they by controlling freedom of speech and freedom of thought does not benefit them,
they won't do it.
They won't do it.
They won't do it.
All this over-regulation, over-legislation of speech and thought will disappear overnight. The fact that these kinds of laws and regulations exist for so long, it simply means that somebody benefits from it. So do you benefit from it? Do I benefit from it? Who benefits from this? So he who benefits is the one who wants to prolong all this. It's as simple as that. But as I said, this has come to pass. This is now off way past shelf life. The politicians somehow don't see it. Now is the age in Malaysia since 2018. This is the age of losing elections. Tomorrow is a Sabah state election. Somebody is going to lose that election, lose bad. We are entering now into a phase in our politics where politicians get thrown out of office. And these people don't understand that they are being thrown out of office. They are being thrown out of office because of their over-reliance and their, prolonging really unpopular legislation, rules and laws like what we are discussing about today. The longer these laws and these regulations remain in place, the more the politicians are going to get kicked out of office.
Well, you know what? They think, the politicians think or believe what they are protecting is actually, they're not protecting you and I. They are not interested at all.
No, only their own benefit.
What they are interested, number one, if you ask me, is actually how cushy is the place that they are sitting. Okay?
Exactly.
What is the post that they're going to be holding after the election?
Someone has to benefit.
That's the whole thing. They don't give a shit about you.
Somebody has to benefit.
Yeah. So
and
if we start talking and we start being able to think for ourselves and we are allowed to say things for ourselves, then you are exactly right. Which is, they're going to get thrown out.
Exactly.
And this is basically the thesis that this whole conversation hinges on. And if you ask me, okay, are we a first world country? We're not gonna get there. We are never gonna get there. Number one, if we still hold on to all this legislation and we still have politicians that are holding on to this kind of authoritarian mind control.
Exactly.
Now, what do we do about it?
Perhaps we can look at the history of some of this legislation. I have dug up some interesting history behind the Sedition Act. This is entirely my own view.
Yeah.
The British, the colonial British, they enacted the Sedition Act in 1948. at that time there was no independent Malaysia. We would not become independent until 1957. 1948, the British enacted the Sedition Act. There were some changes made to it in 1960. So now we have the Malaysian one is a Sedition Act 1960, and I think there were some other changes made later. But why did the British introduce the Sedition Act in 1948, just after the Second World War? Why not 1938 or 1925? They were here for a long time. I don't blame it. I attribute it to the Dutch and President Sukarno. The Dutch who were the colonial power in Indonesia, and President Sukarno who led Indonesia to independence. 1945, Second World War ended. The Japanese surrendered. So as soon as the Japanese surrendered, 1945, these dates are important because 45 Japanese surrendered, 46 UMNO was formed, 46 was also the War of Independence in Indonesia, 48 was the Sedition Act, and 48 also, 49 was the year the Dutch were basically completely left Indonesia. So 45 was end of Second World War, Japanese surrendered. So the British came back to Malaya to repossess the country. They landed in Port Dickson, the famous Operation Zipper. It was supposed to invade Malaya, but then because of the atomic bomb, the Japanese surrendered. So it was the British Army, the British Indian Army landed in Malaya to retake possession of Malaya. Now across the water, across that ditch in Indonesia, Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta declared independence. Immediately after the Japanese surrendered, they declared independence and said Indonesia is a sovereign nation. Of course, the colonial powers were shocked. You can't have this Asiatics declaring independence. So the Dutch didn't agree, and then the fighting started. So the Indonesian, it was actually a real war. The Indonesian War of Independence started after the Japanese surrender. But you see, the thing is, there were no Dutch in Indonesia anymore because all the Dutch had run away.
All the Dutch got thrown out.
They got thrown out. They ran away actually.
Yeah.
And some were locked up by the Japanese in prison. But then there was no Dutch presence. So the British told the Dutch, or the Dutch asked the British, because they just landed all their divisions of British Indian soldiers in Port Dickson in Malaya. Can you do us a favor and help us repossess, like car repossess, help us repossess Indonesia for us, which the British did. So the British Indian Army from Malaya, they crossed over into Sumatra and Java, and they actually started fighting against Sukarno's Indonesian freedom fighters. They call them rebels. There was a real shooting war. So a large part of the British Army was the Indian troops. You have the Sikhs, the Punjabis, the Baluch, the Rajputs, Marathas, no Parathas.
Yeah.
The 23rd Indian, the famous 23rd Indian Division, all these divisions they went over to Indonesia, and there was street fighting. There was a famous battle of Surabaya, I think 1946, October to November, where thousands were killed. Thousands of Indonesians were killed, and also up to 1,000 British troops were killed. It was a big fight. That war and that fighting ended on November the 10th, and until today, November 10th is National Warriors Day in Indonesia, Hari Pahlawan, until today. But anyway, after that huge battle in Surabaya, the British realized that they're not going to win this war. They were shocked. The British government was almost bankrupt after Second World War.
Yeah.
They didn't want to go from the frying pan again into another frying pan or into the fire. So the British told the Dutch, we are not going to do this for you. You have to make your peace with the Indonesians. So 1946, the Dutch signed a treaty with Indonesia. Indonesia became an independent republic, and the Dutch took a couple of years to pack up everything, and they left. So Indonesia became a sovereign nation. Okay, what happened was, when Sukarno announced the independence of Indonesia in 1945, major earthquakes went around Asia because India was still trying to get their independence. 1947,
Yep.
The Chinese people were fighting for their independence. Everybody in Malaya, people were all over Asia, in Myanmar, everyone was agitating for independence. And Sukarno was the first Asian leader, first after Second World War, to defeat two colonial powers, the British and the Dutch. He militarily defeated them and he won his independence. So this created panic in the British and also the Americans, that just after Second World War, when they needed their colonial colonies for revenue, it's all about money, isn't it? And here we have Sukarno leading this Asian people and successfully throwing out a colonial power. So they panicked. And true enough, at that time in Malaya, there was this Kaum Muda Melayu and other Malay groups, nationalist groups, who actually sent people to fight with Sukarno in Indonesia. They crossed the Straits of Malacca. They took part in action in Sumatra, in Java, from Malaya and also from Singapore. There were Indians in Malaya at the time who were also agitating for Indian independence in India, who also supported Sukarno's fight against the British. And Chinese from Malaya and also from Singapore. And there was gun running from Singapore and parts of Malaya, Singapore mostly, to help the Indonesian rebels. I have a bit of personal history here. One of my uncles was a gun runner at that time to the Indonesian rebels. He was arrested and thrown in jail by the British. He's passed away. So it was a time when, after Second World War, all the Asian peoples were wanting for independence. And Indonesia proved that twice the British had been kicked out. Once when the Japanese invaded Asia, Malaya, Indonesia, they chased away the British, they chased away the Dutch. The Asian people saw that the white man can be defeated. The second time was when Sukarno defeated the British in Surabaya in Indonesia. So this created a lot of panic in the colonial powers, especially British. So 1946, 1948, the Dutch left. So in 1948, the British enacted the Sedition Act. And the Sedition Act, it's inciting, the what it says now, inciting hatred, contempt against any ruler or any government. At that time was the king.
Against any ruler and any government.
It was referring to their king at that time. So I mean, this is camouflage. What it really? I mean, they need to say something. They need to use somebody's name. So okay, they say the king, the ruler, the government. Basically, it was to protect British commercial interests, to protect their money. You see, after Second World War, Britain was quite bankrupt. They were broke. And within a short time after Second World War, Malaya started producing rubber and tin back to normal production. It went up quite fast. And Malaya was the largest contributor of revenue to the British Empire, in the entire empire. We were ahead of India after the Second World War. So the British really needed the revenue from Malaya to revive their own economy.
Well, actually, I'm not surprised. If you ask me, sometimes I think that India was a consumption for British production of textile. That totally de-industrialized India, if you ask me. But go on.
Yeah. So this was the macro situation going on, the geopolitics at the time. The British were in a bad situation. So you suddenly have a guy like Sukarno coming up and beating the crap out of the British soldiers and the British Empire, and getting independence for Indonesia through violent means. It spooked them. So they enacted the Sedition Act in 1948. Also, 2 years before 1946, UMNO had been formed. Now, UMNO, let's not we have to understand UMNO.
That's the United Malay National Organization that held power for 60 years.
That name is very important. It's United Malays National Organization. It is actually an agglomeration of many, many Malay groups who were existing in Malaya at the time. Various sports associations, women's clubs. They all got together and set up UMNO. It was a coming together of almost the entire Malay people throughout the country. So it was, at that time, it was not a single political party. It was not a unitary political party yet. It was a compilation, a coming together of various Malay NGOs, groups and all that to fight for their rights. So UMNO was formed in 1946 to ask for independence. Sedition Act came into power in 1948. So the British were already afraid. They knew that if they let people like this have their free say and going around agitating, people or motivating people throughout the country, it might cause them to lose their colony lah. So 48 was the Sedition Act, and then the communist insurgency also started in 48, but that one's a slightly different story. But it also had an effect on the British. The net result is that the British hung on to Malaya for another 9 years until 1957, when they gave us our independence lah. Now the funny thing is, from 48 to 57, there were a lot of independence movements in Malaya. UMNO, not only UMNO, many others. They were all urging and agitating for independence from the British, and they were all anti the Sedition Act, because the Sedition Act,
that's funny, isn't it?
yeah, was oppressive. Or it was a colonial act.
Right.
It 100% is a colonial act. The aim and purpose of the act is only one: to suppress and oppress the people in the colony,
Yes.
so that British interests, commercial interests, will be safeguarded. Somebody had to benefit.
Yes.
The British benefited. But lo and behold, 31st of August, midnight, 1957, the moment that clock moved past that 12 o'clock, we became independent Malaysia, and the Sedition Act became ours. We took it and we kept it. The British, the Colonial Sedition Act, which everybody didn't like before independence, suddenly now became part of our laws, and it is there until today. We still have it.
Well, that's the Federation of Malaya, with and then the formation of Malaysia.
Yeah, I mean
with Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore.
the
at
law
that
has held.
particular time.
Yeah, the law has
and
held.
it's held throughout
So,
the formation.
a law that was condemned and rightly condemned by so many people before our independence, when we were agitating for independence from the British, when so many people did not like the Sedition Act, we still maintain it.
Can we conclude then basically what we've done is actually transfer colonialism from the British to our own brown people and yellow people and whatever the people in any state that is holding to power, and that's basically it. We just transfer from one colonizer to another colonizer.
Well, there's a major difference. We are a democracy. Every 5 years we vote. You vote, I vote, my father voted, everybody voted. We are a democracy. So by the people, of the people, for the people, it's us. Let's poke ourselves in the eye.
But our
We did
people
it.
all the time, the only thing they do is just blame others.
Now I think we got it right. It's the people. It's our fault. It's always our fault. We are a democracy. If something goes wrong, it is our fault. Don't point fingers at anybody else. Why are the politicians messing up so much? We allow them. It's our fault. Democracy is our fault. This because of us. We did not change. But it's good for us to understand where these things come from. So there was a history to the Sedition Act. The British put in place the Sedition Act after Sukarno beat the crap out of them, because they wanted to safeguard their commercial interests. For God, for king, for country, all that is just hogwash. It's just
I haven't heard that in a long time. That's hogwash indeed.
Just marketing hype.
Yeah.
The real reason is British commercial interest, money. Somebody's money. Somebody has to benefit from all this. So that's the bottom line. But we are an independent nation, and more importantly, we are a free people. We have our own mind. We can think, and we vote at elections. Why do we still keep voting for this? Now it is becoming clear, because political power has been lost by a ruling coalition that lasted 63 years. You mentioned just now. After 63 years, the ruling coalition lost their political power. They were kicked out. Among the reasons is because of people do not like all these archaic and old laws which do not serve the benefit of the people. It does not serve any purpose for them, or does not serve much purpose for them. So that's why the politicians are losing elections now. You stand on your table, if you're a politician, and you say, I'm in favor of the Sedition Act, I think you'll lose more votes than win any votes. So the situation has changed now, and the politicians have to be aware of this.
But they really don't care.
You are selling the wrong product.
Well, I agree with you that they are selling the wrong product. I mean, the problem we keep getting pushed back is actually people say, oh, but then you can't form a government. And therefore, how do we make changes?
I believe there are those vested interests who like this kind of legislation. I'll tell you, in 2018, one of the platforms of the Pakatan Harapan at that time under Dr. Mahathir's leadership was to abolish the Sedition Act. It is in the manifesto. Then they won the elections, and they did. They abolished. Well, they didn't abolish. They sort of put it in cold storage. They said, we will freeze the Sedition Act, and so it was like it will not be acted upon and implemented anymore. They said that. The minister in charge was Gobind Singh Dio. But that only lasted for like a few weeks. Some people around Dr. Mahathir, who was Prime Minister at the time, Dr. Mahathir's 2.0 administration, some people around him, some advisors, I know some of them. They were the ones who were against this abolishing of the Sedition Act. I'll say these are the people who are the pro-Ketuanan type. They didn't like the idea that the Sedition Act would be abolished because they feared that ultimately their position will be threatened because, of the various policies we have in this country and all that. They want to maintain that. They don't like dissent. They don't like people asking too many questions, questioning the status quo, basically. Yeah?
Yep.
So some people feel, but this is an unfounded fear. It's an unfounded fear. It is an unfounded belief. You see, we have abolished we have abolished the Internal Security Act. Did the world come to an end?
It's unfounded fear for the people,
for everybody,
but
for them
actually
also.
For them.
That's why I want to tell them we have abolished the Internal Security Act. Has it brought the end of the world to the country or for anyone here? No. So these are just fears that you are just holding on to old ways of thinking without it doesn't affect anybody. If you abolish the Sedition Act tomorrow, I don't think it is going to unseat the existing status quo in the country. I don't think so. We are all going to have high regard and love the Malay rulers, for example. The Malay rulers, we have 9 Malay rulers. They are major part of the psyche, especially Malay psyche, and especially in the states where they come from. In each state, the people in their states, they really adore the rulers because that is our culture for a long time. You don't need a Sedition Act, to keep the rulers in power. If some people are thinking along those lines, no, nothing will change. But there are other people. They're not rulers. They are the other groups, who benefit from the situation. They like legislation like this. They like the control mechanisms. It benefits them. Just like the British, they enacted the Sedition Act because to protect British commercial interests. King George or King Edward was too busy in London.
Well, we have this saying here. Remember, there are the 3 R's that we cannot talk about. Expound on that, brother.
Well,
since we are on that subject,
these are sensitive issues. Race, religion, and one more R.
Which we are not going to talk about even.
So, race is part of the conversation every day. Every other day there's something racial. People don't use the word, I'm going to talk about race today. There's no such thing. But, people discuss freely about issues that ultimately touch on race. I don't think it's a major issue in Malaysia. Every morning when we get up and you go out of your door, you know what race you are and you know what race is your neighbor. So, race is everywhere. It doesn't affect us. Down on the street, the country is super peaceful. In this country, you can go out anytime, anywhere. You can go out at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Girls can walk out on their own anywhere. And, and it is a culture now, isn't it? 3 o'clock, all the mamak shops are full. People are having mee goreng at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
You can't even get that in New York City.
Cannot.
24-hour.
So this is Malaysia. We are safe. Our society, all our races are all safe with each other. No issue. So this thing about race, it is only when the politicians want to play it up. And especially when they play up things that don't exist, like ham sandwich. Remember? Was it chicken ham or something? And then stuff like that. They play things up that don't exist because these are politicians. They think it benefits them. They're going to get the votes. They are mistaken. These issues are beyond shelf life. Religion is the other issue. Religion is sensitive because of the laws. Because religion is regulated. I'm talking about Islam. Islam is regulated. Islam is legislated. You cannot speak about religion, about Islam. I'm talking about theological issues, issues related, specific issues related to belief, not general statements like we are talking now generally about Islam. But if you want to go into details of rituals, practices and beliefs, then you need to be certified. You need to have a letter of certification.
I don't remember that growing up.
Well, they have it. They have been around for a long time. And if you do not have a certification from some religious state authority, you can be held liable. You can be arrested and tried in court, and you can be punished. So religion is Islam is legislated and regulated. Not Christianity, not Hinduism. Anyone. If you are a Christian, you can print any book about Christianity tomorrow. We have no governing authority on Christianity in this country or anywhere in the world for that matter. But if you are a writer or an author and you write something about Islam, you write a book about Islam, and it's not properly certified, you can be held liable. So the discourse on Islamic issues, Islamic religious issues, is controlled in the country. So the government legislates it. They do not want someone coming up and saying things which is not acceptable to the orthodoxy. They do not want they will call it deviant groups. Okay. And they do not want some deviant groups coming up and saying all kinds of wild things about Islam and then assembling a following. They start having their own cult and things like that. So in other countries, they don't do this. They do not control religion like this. If somebody wants to say something, they don't care. I'm talking about Islamic countries like Indonesia, even Pakistan, Middle East. I'm not so sure, but a lot of countries, Islamic countries, they don't care. If you want to talk about your religion, whatever your religion is, go ahead. They don't have legislation. They don't agree, but they don't have legislation. In our country, we have legislation. So bottom line is, this is another area of discourse, dialogue, discussion, which is governed by criminal laws. That's what I'm trying to say here. Governed by criminal laws. Your beliefs can be criminalized. Just like under Sedition Act and MCMC Act, your thoughts can be criminalized. Your thinking, when we get up in the morning, our brain starts thinking. It can be a criminal act. Just thinking can be a criminal act. So to me, this is ridiculous. A crime should be something that is physical, tangible. You stole money, right? You took something that doesn't belong to you. You threatened someone with violence. That should be a crime. Or somebody was giving a speech on a stage, campaign, political rally. A politician is talking on the stage. The other group from the other party comes and throws their slippers, throws their shoe, or throws stones at the guy. Those should be, of course, those are offences, criminal offences, which our law deals with. But you don't go beyond that and start controlling what people can think. Freedom of speech is actually freedom of thought. But basically, they're telling you we are controlling what your brain can think and cannot think about. We are controlling your mind. That's what, and this is very bad for any society. As long as the guy doesn't burn the house down or set the place on fire, does not steal a couple of billion ringgit and put it into his account, stuff like that. There's no need to criminalize discussion, no matter how much you dislike it. I personally wish that remember the old days when the communists were outlawed. I do not disagree that the communists were outlawed because they were prone to violence. They wanted to. They declared we're not going to give up our arms struggle. So of course they were outlawed. But I have a view that the communist ideology, the communist thinking, the communist literature, we should have allowed that to be read in this country. We should have read it, questioned it, criticized it, and debated it, and killed the horse permanently, because it was a flawed philosophy. I mean, now on hindsight, we know communism has failed. There are no more communist countries in the world. Even China is not really communist anymore. Only Korea, even Cuba is now, I think, I don't know where they are right now.
Well, you're talking about even Russia. You're basically talking about
no
an
more.
oligarchy.
So communism has collapsed on itself. I now on hindsight, but I mean, hindsight vis-a-vis the communist countries. But if we had allowed open discussion, discourse, debate, and questioning and critique of communist ideology, I don't think they would have gained any traction. From day one, even when I was a teenager, I started reading about communism. I knew they were flawed. They were totally flawed. When you say the state shall own all the assets, I went like, hey, no, I want to own some things too.
When you try to stop people from thinking, you try to stop people from reading, you try to stop people from having a discourse, actually the bad ideas win out, if you ask me. Because it doesn't the bad ideas get entrenched into thoughts. Let's talk about, in that sense, talk about race, right? We have quota system that still exists until today. I don't know whether that is legislated or it is, it trickles down from legislation into a procedure that get entrenched in tertiary education.
It has become entrenched. It is just a practice. For example, I have some personal knowledge of the 30% equity ownership.
Right.
Because I got it directly from the late Tunda Aim Zainuddin.
Okay.
He told me that they don't know where the 30% came from. They do not know. It just somehow it came up and then it got stuck. But there was no debate. There was no justification. No one knows exactly how this 30% figure came up. Why not 40%? Why not 25%? Why not 33%? Should be 33, isn't it? 1/3. Huh? But nobody knows. So it just happened to it got maybe somebody said it. It came along the way. It got written down then it becomes solidified, written in stone. So that is just a policy thing that has become entrenched, and now it has stayed there. It's no more in place now. A lot of it has been loosened, but criticizing it too much or arguing over it too much or agitating. The word is agitating too much over this particular policy, that can be caught under Sedition Act.
Really?
If you create, according to the act, if you use it to create animosity and hatreds, or racial feelings.
How are you going to define that hatred?
That is a debatable and dubious part, but then it can be caught under the sedition, not the percentage itself, because as you said, the percentage itself, 30%, for example, it's not by law. It's not really written down anywhere. It's something that just happened along the way, and now it became entrenched. But dwelling on it or using it to stir up people's emotions, that can be caught under the Sedition Act. So those are two separate issues. The question is, which we want to know, is why the fear that discussing these things openly will necessarily always take us down this feared breakdown of law and order, massive upheavals and all that, just because we discuss something, we start talking about issues. There's this great fear. Are we that immature as a society?
Are we that fragile as a society?
And are we that childish?
Yeah.
Like small kids arguing. The moment that you discuss certain things, that it can get out of control in no time. I do not know. Maybe 50 years ago, the situation in the country was different. It was. Maybe there had to be more monitoring and control to keep the peace, so to speak. But this is the 21st century, and everything has got a shelf life, everything has got an expiry date. People grow up, societies grow up, our entire country has grown up. Some of these excessive controls that maybe they appeared necessary or justifiable 50 years ago, 40 years ago, I think they have outlived their usefulness. And so to hold on to it now becomes a liability. It becomes a burden on the people, and it becomes a liability on the politicians. That's what I'm trying to say here. It's becoming a liability for the politicians. People don't care about this anymore. People don't like it anymore. 50 years ago, with Sukarno fighting a war
Well,
and all that, maybe people say, let's have these laws around to keep the peace. But the situation has changed greatly now.
I mean, you rightly put. I think one of the special things about Malaysia, I think a lot of people that come over here, my friends from overseas, when they come over here, they see that's one thing that they get very impressed with is our development. Even if you go into rural areas, you got relatively good roads. So where states don't have good roads, the question for the people is to ask, what are your state politicians doing? Okay, that is one. But the other thing that actually is very impressive of us, and I've traveled all over the world, you've traveled all over the world, and state, we are a very safe country. Our people don't walk and worry if I see another race, okay? It doesn't even cross my mind I'm going to have a problem, It doesn't even cross my mind that I see another person of a different skin color or wearing a different thing that I'm going to get worried, that I'm going to get robbed or I'm going to get threatened. We don't care. We don't have that.
I'm sure you've heard of Norman Rockwell, the famous American painter.
Painter, yeah, sure.
1950s. He used to go around painting everyday scenes of small town America.
Yeah.
The milkman delivering the milk in the morning.
Yes.
The kid getting the big yellow school bus to go to school, carrying the lunch box. So Norman Rockwell was a famous painter. He captured American life. If you want to see Norman Rockwell in Malaysia, you go to our small towns,
Yes.
And especially because I used to do this before, I used to travel around the country. If you drive through our small towns at like after midnight, sometimes I used to go to Pahang, and you drive to Benter and Kara, or even in Perak at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll always see there'll be some little restaurant open, at 2 o'clock in the morning. And the usual Malaysian things maybe selling some mee, teh tarik, roti canai. So there'll be a couple of guys there sitting there, or 3 people, and having a tea or eating something. Of course, there'll be one guy taking care of the place. And outside, you must have that stray dog. That stray dog, sitting there quietly. It's a completely peaceful situation,
Yeah.
And I've seen this throughout the country.
Well, this
is the classic Norman Rockwell kind of of a scenario.
Where are you gonna go in the rest of the world? I would dare to say this.
Syria?
Where, you just get 24-hour restaurants open,
No, it's a peaceful
at
country.
any time.
It's a super peaceful country, Malaysia.
What is this? Are these politicians so scared about, except for protecting their colony and us being colonized?
So they benefit. There are benefits for them. I don't want to venture too far into what exactly they benefit, because the subject today is the things that we cannot talk or speak about. So let's not talk too much about them. But obviously it benefits them. They think up to 2008, when Barisan Nasional lost the 2/3 majority, they lost power 2018. Up to 2008, maybe it worked. But since 2008, Malaysian politics has entered into the era of losing elections. Malaysian politicians are now in the age of getting kicked out of office, maximum one term. So this is a situation now in our country, and I hope the politicians are listening. Among the reasons, there are many reasons why people kick you out of office. All politicians. This is also one of them. This OCD, obsessive
Compulsive
disorder. This is OCD. This obsessive compulsive disorder to control other people's thought processes. Sedition Act, MC Act, this act, that act. It is just OCD. I want to control what you think. Your writing and your speaking is a result of your thinking. So I want to control what goes on inside your mind. This is mind control. Why? Because it benefits me. I'm a politician. They do not realize that this is now way past shelf life. So if you want to lose the elections, if you're a politician, if you want to lose the elections, if you want to get kicked out, go ahead.
Make my day.
Go ahead. You go and implement all these OCD kind of laws, obsessive compulsive disorder kind of rules and regulations. You're going to get kicked out. This is the 21st century.
I think one of the biggest problem we face to a certain extent is actually successful people or people who are able to think does not go into politics. All right? And the reason why people who can think does not go into politics is because of the political party system. The political party system are there right now after so many years of more than 60 years of evolution in this country. And I think also everywhere where there is an entrenched political party system, it only allows in people who are going to have the same thinking or will not challenge the leadership. If you challenge the leadership, they kick you out. So, if you ask me, maybe, Syed, the political party system itself is broken. And therefore, what you just said is actually this controlling freedom of speech has that's basically a symptom of the disease. The disease is actually they don't want people who's going to take their place because they benefit.
Self-preservation.
Exactly. So, I think we have already seen, like what you say, we are going on hung parliament.
That's because the voters have matured.
Yeah.
The voters have grown up.
So, we may be looking at another evolution coming up,
The politicians have to change.
Well,
if they don't change, they get kicked out. Let's see tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sabah state election.
Tomorrow is Sabah state election coming. Yeah, we'll have a look.
As it is now, if I may, as it is now, nobody. I was listening to another analysis yesterday. No one can predict what exactly is going to happen in Sabah. Meaning, it's not like last time, 10 years, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, where more or less you'll know who's going to win or who's going to lose. That is now no more the situation. So the times have changed. People are tired. People are fed up. And the subject we're discussing today, this control of freedom of thought and freedom of speech, all this is part and parcel of the fatigue. The people are fatigued with all these things that have been going on in the country for all these years. People are tired. So if the politicians have any common sense, they should realize that if you are going to stick along this path without any change, you're going to have very short careers.
Are you sure the politicians have common sense?
Very short careers. No, they don't have any common sense. They're going to have very short careers. That's it. So the politicians better buckle up.
I almost want to tell people to just
What I would like the politicians to do is, I hope there's some clever political party somewhere in our country who will make abolishing the Sedition Act and amending the MC Act
as a platform.
A platform, which we did before to 2018, it was in our manifesto for Pakatan Harapan.
Oh, and then Tun says it's
That's
only
it.
a manifesto.
That's it. So that's bad. And then Tun got kicked out. So I hope that some clever politician who has some common sense will decide again to make this Sedition Act and MCMC Act and all the other acts, this control freak kind of acts, that we abolish it. Worst case, we amend it. The politicians should make this part of their platform. If there are any politicians out there who woke up in a blur this morning, don't know what to do, take this up. This is it's low hanging fruit. Low hanging fruit. Promise the people, if I win the elections, I'm going to abolish Sedition Act. I'm going to amend the MCMC Act. I'm going to free up freedom of thought and speech in the country. Make this your own personal platform. People will vote for you.
Well, here's the other thing actually in terms of being able to talk whatever we want to talk about, right? I mean, the discourse itself is pretty immature, if you ask me. I mean, the reason why I started this conversation and having people like, us talking is I'm sick and tired of listening to politicians talk on their podcasts or coming on and have their proxies talking and not talking substantive items, right? Economic policies, for example, keep talking about taxation, talking about how to actually extract more money from people who are creating the economy itself, and then giving away money to people who doesn't produce anything, So these are the issues that actually need to be talked about by politicians and actually people who can contribute. And I think we need more citizens to come up and contribute into the political arena.
We need more conversation. We need more dialogue. But I mean, I personally, I believe in almost total freedom of speech. I don't believe in any kind of control. People should be able to say what they want to say. But whoever likes slapstick comedy, there'll be people who like slapstick comedy. Let them go with it. Other people may like serious drama or romantic comedies or whatever. Let them go with it. We cannot tell people at what level of thinking they are or they should be. It's up to them to decide. That's the whole thing about freedom of speech. People can say and whatever they want to say, and they can like the subjects that whatever excites them. We cannot. Another person does not have the right to say that you have made the wrong choice, or your choice of whatever you're discussing is below me or doesn't concern me. That's individual rights. We need to protect that. That's rule number one. But the most important thing is that there's no such thing as let's create space for people to talk. That's a wrong approach. Do not encroach upon their right and to say what they want to say. You don't create space for people. You don't create freedom of speech. You get out of the way. And don't be an obstacle for people to say what they want to say. This is what is the approach has to be properly understood. The philosophy. It's not that I'm giving you space to say what you want to say. Like, I'm God, with a big beard sitting in the sky.
Go to hell lah.
No.
Yeah.
You just get out of the way.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm so happy that, we are a democracy and we go and vote every 5 years. That the vote is changing now. The politicians who hold on to this archaic kind of thinking, which is a word used by one of our past presidents of the Bar Council when she described the Sedition Act, is archaic. It's way past shelf life. You hold on to things like this, you will get removed. You will get kicked out at the voting, at the polls. I mean, we're a democracy. So the politicians should, I hope they understand this.
Mm.
But as you said, they don't seem to have common sense.
Well, I
This is the
think it's
problem.
about time that actually our people elect common sense rather than elect parties. Because, I think democracy is chaotic. If you ask me, as a businessman, I like chaos. Why? Because then there is chaos, there is opportunity for me to develop better. If you say everything should stay the same, everything everything are not dynamic, then you're not gonna get improvement. Improvement only happen when you make changes, and changes is chaotic.
Well, I think the changes are happening now in the country. At long last, I think our democratic system is starting to bear fruit, especially since 2008, 2018. I hope the pace will pick up. What is happening is in the country now is that politics as a career option is now becoming...
It is a career option,
it's
isn't
becoming
it, for them?
very limited now. It's becoming more limited.
Yeah.
It's no more like
The
the
shelf
old
life
days.
is lower.
Very, very lower. There's no more Dr. Mahathir Prime Minister for 22 years and Prime Minister for 9 years and all that. That is history. That's way beyond us. People are fed up of all that. So politics as a career option where you can retire as a politician, that has gone out the window. You're not going to have people serving as a member of parliament for 50 years.
Do you not then, if you're going that way, do you not think we should have term limits for parliament?
Yes, we should.
Yeah?
We should have term limits for prime minister and if you ask me, also for members of parliament.
I agree.
Like what Donald Trump is proposing, congressmen 12 years maximum, something like that.
Wow.
2 terms for president is been a part of the American system for a long time, which we should have. Maximum 2 terms for the prime minister, maximum 2 terms for chief ministers, and we should also have maximum 2 terms for the elected representatives, the members of parliament and the members of the state legislature. Maximum 2 terms. After that, out. Let the new blood come
if you
in.
cannot achieve things, I can't help thinking to myself like this. I mean, especially when you talk about member of parliament, right? Or becoming ministers of any kind. Any job that you stay stagnant at that position more than 8 years, you are actually pretty mediocre. You does not improve. You get to be complacent and you stop new talent from taking over.
We need change. And something as critical and so extremely important. I mean, the politician basically says, he comes to you and says, place your future in my hands.
Correct. Excuse me, but I'm just about to...
No, that's what politicians
My
do.
first reaction to
That's
that
what
is go to hell.
That's what politicians say. You put your entire trust, your future in my hands for the next 5 years. Okay, for 5 years, maybe I'll trust the guy. But forever or, of course, I can get to vote him out. Every 5 years, we go to the polls, you can vote for somebody else. But I'm talking about the guys who are still around after more than 2 terms because, let's say, some group of people gave them sufficient votes, or there was this wheeling and dealing and moving the pieces, chess pieces,
all the horse
the board,
trading,
all
so
the horse
to speak,
trading, and these guys keep coming back in power. So we need something else to curb this, and terms on restriction on
Political office.
tenure.
Yeah.
Restricting it to 2 terms, for example, for prime minister and
member of
Besar.
parliament.
Member of parliament, that would really help this country and solve a lot of our problems. We need new thinking, we need new blood, and most importantly, we need to send the message to the politicians that you're not going to retire in this job.
Yeah.
This is not a retirement scheme.
I know this conversation
It is
has gone slightly...
It is here to serve the people, and it's not for your own personal benefit, it's for the people's benefit.
Well,
we should talk about this more.
yeah, but
some
I
other
mean,
time.
you look at this situation, right? If you think about it, where do you hone the skill of serving the people, if you ask me? municipal councils. We don't have election at municipal council level, right? So you are not getting young people to actually run for municipalities where they are trained to serve people. And if they don't perform, they get kicked out. And then you go for parliament or assembly, and then you probably go for even the Senate needs to be elected. You know, I think that if you ask me, legislative body has no experience to govern as executives. I don't know how many people understand this difference or not. Okay? Because if you are a legislature, you better know how to make laws. Right? But making laws and running corporation, you know, Elon Musk has this saying that the ultimate running of a corporation is running a country. That's what running a country is all about. You better know how to run corporations. Okay? We don't have that.
So we need free and unfettered speech. We should be able to discuss anything and everything under the sun. There is no fear of the country burning down, of all the people running amok, just because you and I had a discussion about something.
How about we should be able to ask anything under the sun?
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
I want to have you and I want to have I want to have a politician here. I want to have somebody in government, a minister, whatever, an opposition leader, whatever. I don't really care. But if you come here, expect us to grill you like hell. Okay? Do you dare to come here and get a grilling that nobody has ever done in Malaysia? I want to do that.
So we need to amend the laws. We need to abolish certain laws. We abolished the Internal Security Act. Okay, we KIV'd the Sedition Act for a few weeks in 2018. Just put it in cold storage. There is a long, quite a substantial history of NGOs and various groups and societies urging that the Sedition Act be abolished. As I said, the Sedition Act has now, all these acts, all these OCD kind of laws, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD acts, where they want to control people, want to control, stifle thinking, stifle speech, criminalize posting a comment on Facebook.
Yeah, I know.
Criminalize writing something on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you sit with your friend and you meet your friend in a coffee shop and have a chit chat,
yeah.
With your friends, you may talk A to Z, anything under the sun. The technology now allows us to do that in our WhatsApp groups with your friends, our family WhatsApp groups, your Facebook discussion, your Instagrams and Twitter or X they call it. It's basically projecting your coffee shop conversation with your friends.
Oh, our coffee shop conversations are quite racist.
Terribly seditious.
Yeah.
Downright, what do you call this? It's totally seditious. Because it's just coffee shop conversation.
Dude.
But what's your intention to burn down the country in your coffee shop conversation?
Yeah.
Were you planning to assassinate anybody in your chit chats? No. You don't have this intention, but it is just discussion. People talking. People should be allowed to say anything they want among themselves.
Well, here's the funny part that actually I sort of like talk to my American friends who are very so concerned about racism and in America especially, but here and this is the thing, I regularly, because my group of people being in the way I am and all that, I have very close friends who are Chinese, who are Indians, who are from Sabah, or Sarawak, or Malays or whatever, and we would be sitting there, and I can tell you, we are so racist in the way we talk to each other. Because why? We are all good friends.
Exactly. So you see, the tools that we have today at our disposal, this WhatsApps and Facebook and Instagram, all these are IT, is information technology. It just allows us to exchange views with your friends without having to meet in a coffee shop. Even if your friend is 500 miles away, you can still have that chit-chat conversation. Now, if somebody takes a screenshot, snapshot, or actually makes a police report or whatever, and then it becomes criminal. To me,
you don't even have contact sometimes.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Now, this is the other issue with the Act, especially Sedition Act. In Sedition Act, if they decide to charge you for sedition and criminalize what you said, intent is not necessary. Your intention, in law, you have this thing called a mens rea. A mens rea means your intention. What was your intention, the motive behind doing something? So in the Sedition Act, your intention is not relevant. It is simply whether you said those words or not, which have what is called seditious tendency. So who decides that? As I said, this is not quantifiable. In science, we must be able to measure the output. Only then it's scientific. If you build a bridge, you must be able to measure the strength of the concrete, and there are ways of doing it.
Yeah, just drawing a picture of it is not going to say it's buildable.
If you can quantify it, then you can measure the success. But how do you measure seditious tendency? This is what is in the Sedition Act. So if they feel that what you have said has got seditious tendency, it's enough. You can be held liable and you can be sent to jail. What was your intention? Did you have a malicious intent? Was it a coffee shop conversation, put into your WhatsApp and forecasted to 50 other people, 100 other people, or in Facebook or whatever? So it went out and the whole world saw it. But bottom line is, was just your personal conversation. This is where the Sedition Act is way behind the development in information technology. They are really Jurassic Park. They are backwards. They have lost touch.
Yeah, I think it's also...
You're basically telling your neighbors,
if
you talk to your neighbor across the fence, and which people do, and you say all kinds of horrible things about whoever, if we get wind of it, we're going to hold you accountable. Well, it's basically that's what it comes down to.
No, I mean, we pride ourselves to either one or some even consider ourselves pretty developed. Okay? That's what our politicians keep saying. Okay? So I'm going to take their word for it. All right? Now, because you spoke about, in essence, criticism, what we talk about. Here's the thing about American law. Okay, if you are a public figure, okay, in order for you to be able to even, don't even talk about politician. If you want to win a defamation case, you better prove malice as a motive. Okay, if you cannot prove that, and that's so difficult to prove, how are you gonna prove motivation? So that is a developed mentality, right?
Indeed. That is actually that is another part of our laws that are very archaic. What you just mentioned, our libel and slander. We are basically, I don't know, maybe like 100-year-old. These are British laws. We got it from the British, where it's too plaintiff friendly. People can be sued for libel at the drop of a hat, because the law allows for it. As you were alluding to just now, in the West, especially in the US and Europe, it's almost impossible for a politician to sue
for defamation.
To sue anyone for defamation. Now there's a story of Donald Trump. He wants to sue the BBC. The BBC said something wrong about him on purpose, and they have apologized. I mean, so the case is proven against them that they did it intentionally, and they have apologized.
I think that case was basically they edited the video.
Yeah, it was malicious. I saw it was malicious, and they have acknowledged, and the CEO and one other person has resigned, basically asked to leave. But the Donald Trump announced that he's going to sue the BBC, but I don't think it is moving. Because I think they have done their homework. It is not easy, even for Donald Trump, to sue BBC, even though the BBC has acknowledged, because the laws there do not provide for politicians. They call it public personalities. For public personalities to sue anyone that easily, it's very difficult. In Malaysia, it's the exact opposite. Politicians end up sending legal notices to just about every other person who said something that they disagreed with.
Not just that, they send the police.
And then they sue for 50 million, 100 million. Somebody said nasty thing. Another politician said something nasty about you. He said that you were corrupted. And then the other fellow said, no, you were corrupted. And then they send the lawyers notice to each other. To me, this is not only ridiculous, it is childish. It is part and parcel of the game. You want to get involved in politics, you have to expect this and worse. People will throw stones at you. They will throw their shoe at you. You have to take it. If you cannot take it, if you cannot stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. You cannot say, I'm going to be a politician, but the moment I hear something that I don't like, I'm going to cry to my mother. Or send a legal notice. It's ridiculous. So we have to amend our libel laws and our slander laws. They cannot be so plaintiff friendly. We have to follow the Western model or India for that matter, where politicians, businessmen, billionaires, influential people, people like you and me now, we are in the public domain. It should not be easy for us to sue anyone for libel and slander. The public has a right, because now you and I, we're going out in this podcast. We are saying we are clever guys. We know what we are talking about, right?
Yeah.
So the people are listening to us, right?
They don't agree.
They don't agree. They have a right to disagree with us.
Yeah.
They have a right to call us idiots.
Right.
What do we do? Send
I don't care.
Send a legal notice to them. Send a legal letter. No, cannot. But some people will do it.
Yeah.
This is where the law has to change and make sure that those people who are public personalities, the politicians, the ministers, the leaders, they cannot send legal notice that easily. You must make it extra difficult. It is called what do you call this? Public personality legislation. Public personality. If you are a public personality, the public has a right to talk about you.
I mean,
and the public. I mean, the public can be anybody, right? Could be an educated person, a person who's not so educated, a person who can control his language, a person who just
cannot control
his language. Let them talk. It's their right, because it is you who put yourself to them, politician. Put your future in my hand. I will take care of your future. I will take care of your children's future. You make all these claims. The moment people disagree with you or say something nasty about you, you send a legal letter.
I think one of the things in our culture is because we do come from a very feudal way of thinking. Whether it is Confucius, which is very much follow the authority, whether it is the Malay society, which is stratified, or even Indian society, which is quite stratified. Whereas the Western culture had evolved from where they have had rebellions. And especially if you look at America, where people actually migrated to the new world, so to speak, because they just can't stand what they had before, right? So, I think our people also need to have a change in mindset, which is basically, why do we trust authority? I have this question to our own people. Why do you think authority are trustworthy?
Well, that's why we have elections, our democratic system, where if they lose your trust, you have the right, you have the option to go and change them every 5 years. I mean, you're right. You elect somebody to power, the first year, you're hopeful, or they're going to make changes. And then let's say by the second year, things are not moving as fast.
No, here's the thing.
By the second year, you know whether they are going to deliver what they promised.
You're right. So we still got another 4 years before the next election.
So they lose our trust. Then we go out and we vote for somebody else.
And we should actually, that goes to this conversation, which is in the meantime, before the next election, the people should be allowed to say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, we need that. That's very
That's
important.
the reason
That's
why
very
we
important.
come to this topic,
Yeah,
which is then in between that voting, the voting is one. But in between that voting, we should be, the people should be able to say whatever the hell they have judged as whether you have delivered your
I agree
or not.
The you see, also we have to understand. You were talking about Confucius and feudalism and all that. All these isms, this feudalism, Confucianism, whatever, it is inextricably tied to the technological advancement of the society at that time.
Yeah.
You see, as I said just now, information technology has advanced as light speed. Now we have artificial intelligence. Now they have this prosthetics. If somebody lose their arm, they give them a prosthetic arm with fingers, which they can move by using their mind. It's amazing. That means the guy can tell the upper part of his arm he wants to move those fingers, and the fingers can move. So this is a computers, engineering, information technology, how you link the whole thing together. So as time passes, we get more and more advanced information technology and communications devices. We didn't have Twitter before. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have so many things before. So as time passes, we get more and more of these tools, and we get more and more of these softwares and technology in our hands. Of course, we're going to use it to express our views more and more because it makes things easier. But what has happened is that we get more criminal prosecution because of a posting in Facebook, what you said in the blogs, what you said in Twitter. So let's say tomorrow Elon Musk comes out with something even more newfangled than Twitter or whatever.
He's going for Neuralink.
Neuralink, AI. So we are able to think even faster and exchange our views even faster. We're going to be able to change nasty thoughts about our politicians even faster. So there are going to be more prosecutions.
What are you going to do?
There are going to be more and more prosecutions. So every time a new device comes up, every time a new app comes up, every time a new software comes up, there's going to be more prosecutions. Because last time, during the time of Confucius, it was pencil and paper. You wrote this is seditious. Now it is like, you put this up on your WhatsApp, you put this up on Facebook, you put this up in your blog. So the more technology advances, the more the human species advances, and we learn to communicate at light speed, like what Neuralink, mind to mind, it's just more work for the prosecutor in the prosecution office. They're going to send us to jail because now we are thinking at light speed thanks to Elon Musk. We're going to be able to exchange messages brain to brain. Maybe along the way there's a computer screen. So somebody taps into it and off you go to jail because you said something seditious. But actually we were just having a conversation.
Well, that's interesting. I'll tell you this. I mean, we've gone for quite a bit. Let's have final words on this particular topic. I think I've said quite a bit, and I think it just not only for our politicians but also for ourselves as citizens that we have to change our mindset and not be scared about kicking people out, and not be worried about who's going to form the government. They figure it out, so that, we can, if we don't start doing that, they're going to keep on having a hold over us. So that's my final thought on this particular area. Syed, what are your final thoughts on this?
If we have unfettered access to express our thoughts. I always keep using the word thoughts. If we can think whatever we want to think and then be able to express it, it is the best option for us to safeguard our own safety. I'm talking about the public, our safety, and also to expose wrongdoings and to point the way towards doing the right things. You need open discourse, open discussion. It's like, imagine going to physics class and the teacher says, "I'm sorry, I can't talk today." I'm under orders. What are you going to learn?
Yeah.
So the same thing, as a society, we must be able to discuss things freely, to detect wrongs, to correct wrongs, to plan for the future, and to make sure that we don't make mistakes. So we need open discussion. So anyone who controls this, kick them out. Go to the polls and kick them out. And politicians, listen, you're going to get kicked out. I'm happy. This is the age of politicians getting kicked out. From 2018 until now, this is the new age in Malaysia, the age of politicians getting kicked out.
Okay.
That's my message.
On that note, Syed, we close for the day. Right? Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Let's get a movement going for an age of reason. You know? And as I said, yeah, I think it's the age of kicking people out. Thank you so much. Let's get this. Let's spread this. This channel. Subscribe, like, comment. We are more than happy to hear our audience. Thank you so much. See you again.